What's up, guys? Welcome, brothers and sisters of the blade. Welcome, my sword and knife friends. Welcome to Steel Forge and Fire, Sword and Knife. My name is Joe. I have a katana review for you today. I'm sure you saw with my elaborate, cinematic introduction. I like to show you my skills every once in a while. So basically, this is my Hira Zukuri katana. I'm going to be doing a review on this, but before I get into that, guys, 22 veterans a day take their own lives, guys. It's a horrible statistic that we try to grow awareness of on this channel, at least once in this channel, at some point in the video. And to all veterans, you're very special to us. We appreciate everything you've done for us. You have a place here always. There is a number in the description of this video, as always, to get help if you need it. A lot more professional people than we are here on YouTube. And don't fight this fight alone. And please seek help if you are in despair. You're very important to us. So on with the video. So before I go into the video, I'm going to talk about Japanese swords, okay? The Nodochi. The Nodochi, the traditional definition of a Nodochi is a Japanese-made sword, which means made in Japan. That is a Nodochi. Then the Nodachis could also be a wakizashi. It could be the katana, the odachi, the tachi, the tanto, and the list goes on and on. But the nihanto, actually, the meaning of the Japanese word nihanto, and especially to Americans, just took a different meaning. There are traditionalists out there that don't like to call any sword that's not made in Japan a katana or a wakizashi or an odachi or anything like that. And I can sympathize with them, and I don't disagree with them. I really respect their views because I do respect the history that Japan has with their weapons, the spiritual importance of the katana to the samurai. To the Lord and to whoever was carrying it around, depending on what level or what rank you have, okay? There is a great importance in history of it, and I respect it, and I study it, and I love it. I have a passion for studying it, and that's really why I have a passion for katana and everything Japanese. I really respect their traditions. So in respect of that tradition and the right thing to do, all of these production swords that are made, I don't care if they're made in China, in Thailand, in the States, in Korea, wherever they're made, in Germany. It doesn't matter where they're made. I don't know if they make katana in Germany, but I'll check on that. No matter where they're made, okay, if they're not made in Japan, they're not Japanese swords. They're not the Nodochi, okay? If they're not made in Japan, they are Japanese-style katana. This is a Japanese-style katana. I think that is the proper etiquette and the proper way to call these production swords that are not made in Japan. There are masters that still make katana in Japan. But these master swordsmiths they have had the knowledge of making these swords passed on in their families from generation to generation for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's an amazing thing that they pass on this trait to their sons, and in their own family tradition of how they make these katana. So they are still making them there. Those particular swords are Japanese katana, for sure. And you have to respect the work that they do and the strong tradition that they carry on for so many hundreds of years in their families. And it hasn't been lost at all. And you have to respect that. That is an amazing thing. This is what we got, guys. Now, can I still call this a katana? Shit, yeah. This is a katana. It's a Japanese-style katana. So let's put that to rest because I want to have the proper etiquette on this channel so we're all on the same page as far as what we're calling these things. Are they bad? No. Listen, depends on the forge. It depends on the reputation of the forge. It depends on their customer service. And then, you know what? It depends on if the bladesmith is having a good day or a bad day. So, I mean, that's what happened with me with my previous sword. So, let's get into this Hira Zukuri sword. This particular sword is a redo sword. A redo sword is a new sword that's made up to your liking, and that is a testament of the customer service that JQ SinoSwords has, that they were sympathetic with my situation. Let me explain to you the situation really quick. I had a Kobuse blade that I reviewed, It's in my list of reviews there. The Kobu's blade, I love the blade to death. The grain structure of this blade is absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love the blade. I was able to keep it, and I'm getting it refurnished, put some new furniture on it, rewrap get a new wood core and everything. We're pretty much building up around the blade again. That particular sword I did a cutting session with. Now, after you do a cutting session, generally, you're cutting with the upper 2/3 of the blade. The vibrations are going all the way up to the tang of the blade. Now, if there's anything that's loose or not fitted right on the katana, you're going to realize that after a cutting session. So now, after I did a cutting session, I'm not talking about just cutting pool noodles. Those are light targets. Heavy wet tatami, really heavy water bottles and things like that, over and over and over and over again. So after I did the cutting session, I even showed it, I think, at the end of the video. Nabaki was kind of wiggling from side to side. Seppa was a little unstable. I was able to move it with my thumbnail a little bit, and that's immediately made me very uncomfortable because I haven't taken it apart yet. So I went back, took it apart, as I always do after a cutting session. I noticed that the habaki, after I took the ska off the habaki while it was still pushed onto the blade, the mune, it was wiggling and the seppa was moving, and that's not good. That's not the way a Japanese style sword should be. Okay, the fit and finish should be almost flawless. Okay, everything should fit right. Nothing should wiggle. Nothing should waggle. Everything should fit in the cargo the proper way. Okay, so given the fact that happened, I tried to put it together again, and I was still getting wiggle even with the Mukugi pegs in. So given that situation, I classified as an unusable sword, an unsafe, unusable sword. Their customer service is very strong at J.Crew and SinoSwords, specifically Van, who I've been speaking to, agreed to make me up a brand new sword. Okay, and I was able to pick a totally new sword, totally different steel, different blade architecture, different size, everything to my liking that I want at the present day, because obviously I've been cutting for a while, I've been collecting for a while, so now I know more, really narrow down exactly what I like, the size of the blade that I like, the size of the ska that I like, and I was able to kind of pick something completely brand new, and I'm extremely fortunate enough that they were able to do that. I'm extremely grateful to Van and SinoSwords for doing this for me. So, my biggest concern when ordering the new sword is the fit and finish. I know the blade's going to be great. All my SinoSwords blades are great. They all cut well. They're all very grain structure. There's no lines, no grooves. Everything is great. The wrap on the Ito is fantastic. As you can see, I'll show you some close-ups when we do the detailed. They do a great job around, but the fit and finish was really just miserable. So my biggest concern is I wanted a better fit and finish on this sword. Okay, so far, I'm doing a 3-part series on this sword for the simple reason. I'm going to show you all the details of the sword, brand new out of the box, without cutting with it, no embellishments on the blade, everything clean, no scratches, nothing, no goo, no nothing on the blade. Everything is just out of the box. The second part of my video is going to be the cutting video. I'm going to be testing out some new tatami mats. I'm going to go through a whole cutting session, and at the end of that video, I'm going to try to take a look at everything, give it a quick inspection, see how everything is fitting, if the tsuba, the habaki, the seppas, if everything is good. Now, if everything stays tight, then it leads me to think that it has a better fit and finish. My third video is going to be a Katana Revisited on this Hira Zukuri. In a Katana Revisited sword video, I'm going to take the whole thing apart. I'm going to disassemble everything on the sword, and I want to see how everything fits on the sword, and I'm going to put it together, and if everything is solid and fits the way it has to fit, that's exactly what I was looking for, and that is the improvement that I wanted on this sword compared to my last sword. So if they're able to do that for me, then they made me happy. I'm a happy camper, I'm a happy customer, and I got a near perfect fit and finish that I wanted to begin with. Now, am I asking for a lot? I don't think so. Their prices are great. They're giving you so much value for your money. I mean, that is a great thing about SinoSwords. You're also paying for a product that you want everything to fit right. You want the fit and finish to be good or near perfect. Am I asking for a lot? I don't think so, because there's a safety issue involved. And you want to have the sword last for you. You don't want it, even if you're spending $300 on a sword, you want it to, last, for 10, 15, 20, 1,000 cutting sessions, whatever. Okay, and so you start needing to change things around it, around the blade and all that. If the blade is still in good shape, that is. Ultimate review is going to be the conclusion of the third part of this video, this segment with this Hira Zukuri, to see exactly how the fit and finish worked out on this sword. So stay tuned, video after video, until I give you my final result of how SinoSwords did, and if I am that happy camper that I want to be with this particular sword. So far, I am very happy. So I am going to go to the segment where I'm going to show you detail to detail, show you some B-roll, show you some close-ups I did on the sword while I'm talking. So you don't have to see my pretty face the whole video, and just basically get into all the details and everything I chose about this sword. I'm looking forward to showing that to you now. So let's get to that segment. Alright guys, so here's the detail section of the sword. So first and foremost, when you're getting a custom sword, you're able to give them the measurements that you want in the sword. So you would expect that the measurements come as close as possible, if not perfectly what you wanted on the measurements of the sword. I'm happy to say that everything is pretty much on target. The total length of the katana is 47.2 inches. I didn't specify anything like that. That's just how it came out with the measurements of the blade and the side that fit around it. The Suka, I had requested the Suka length to be 11.5 inches. The Suka length came in at 11.3 inches. Pretty damn close. Love it. Then I asked for the leather brown, or it's actually pleather. It's not really leather, but it's close enough. It's a leather brown Ito, okay, and I got that. And I asked for it has the histogami, as far as the Minuki and everything in the middle, how it's wrapped up. Now the wrap of it is a battle style wrap. It's actually the Japanese term is katate maki, and that particular wrap, I'm really fond of it. I love how it fits in the hands, and just the placement of the Minuki in the middle is just, I'm just really happy with it. And also the shape of it, I requested to have a Rico shape, okay, which is an hourglass shape, where it's a little bit wider here, it kind of thins out in the middle, and it widens up here, sort of like, and that's why it's called an hourglass shape, but the proper term is called Rico shape scab. They did that for me. It's not as pronounced as I thought it would be, but it's definitely there. You can see it's a Rico shape, because I did also request a full wrap Samigawa as opposed to the panel wrap. And until I take it apart, I'm not going to know for sure, but I don't see any panel lines. It looks like it was really completely full wrap. Many people would argue if you need it or not, and this, that, and the other thing. Traditionally, I love it. I think it makes the handle better. That's my personal opinion. You guys take it the way you want it, but I think it makes the handle feel a lot better in the hands. It's more stable. It makes it stronger. It's an extra layer to keep the scarf from cracking under pressure of cutting. So I try to, when I have the option, I try to choose a full wrap of Samigawa. The Samigawa that I chose, I wanted a white Samigawa, but I wanted it to have like I wanted it to be like an aged sword. I picked aged Tsuba and aged Kashira and the Fuchi. I wanted an aged look to the sword. So I asked them if they can give me like kind of a off-white or a creamed type of Samigawa. And they were able to do that for me. As you can see in the close-ups, it is an absolutely beautiful pattern on the Samigawa. There's actually some pretty big nodules there on some portions of the Samigawa, and I'm actually very impressed at the quality of the Samigawa compared to a lot of other swords I have from Hanwei, which look like freaking rubber. And I think they are rubber. So I'm pretty happy with the quality of the Samigawa. I'm very happy with the stained look of the Samigawa. As you can see in the pictures, it is absolutely beautiful, and it really fits the whole aesthetic that I was looking for on the sword. So that's a plus in my book. You notice the Makugi pegs. Okay, in the pictures, the Makugi pegs are placed in the middle of the diamonds. Okay, and I am an advocate of receiving a sword where the Makugi pegs are pretty much in the middle of the diamonds. So when you do take a sword apart, you're not pushing up the Ito on each side. It comes right out in between the diamonds, and they did that for me, and I'm extremely happy that they did that for me. They do that for me time and time again because I do request it. And again, this goes back to knowing exactly what you want in a sword and knowing what to request, and Jakku will do it for you if you are specific as far as what you want. I requested a 28 inch from the Habaki of the blade. The blade length, I measured it at, no joke, 27.9. So, I mean, it can't be more perfect than that. So with the Habaki, it's actually about 29 inches. So they were on target. I am ecstatic that they got the blade length exactly right. And they usually get the blade length always right for me if you're specific as far as what you want. They gave me T10 steel, differentially hardened, exactly what I wanted in this sword. I didn't want spring steel. I wanted a good, strong T10 steel, differentially hardened blade. And I got obviously the Hira Zukuri architecture. Now, I chose, like I said, I chose like an antique look. So if you look at the Kashira, if I can get into this camera here, but you have some details. Kashira is actually really well done, okay? The transitions are done really well. I noticed on my some other JQ swords I have that the Kashira was a little bit loose, it wiggled side to side, and I asked them to glue it this time around after before they put the knot on. And I think that's what they did, because this is pretty damn freaking stiff. It's got some really designs on it. I can't tell you exactly what the design's on. It's kind of like a stone looking design. And again, it fits the whole antique look of this sword. And I really love how everything kind of fits together. And I really got lucky in choosing the pictures from their site and getting that antique look on this Kashira. It's a really beautiful piece. And if we go to the Fuchi, it's a matching, you know, kind of a matching piece to the Kashira there. Again, really nice transitions on the Kashira and the Fuchi. I'm very happy with transitions. If you go with your fingernail, you could feel some kind of abrasions here, but when you're holding it in your hand, it's perfectly comfortable. Nothing is biting into your hands on the end with the Kashira, or if your hand, you know, if you shouldn't be ever choking the ska and going on to the Suba. You should always have some space here, but there's no discomfort for me whatsoever. I'm really happy with the transition of the Fuchi and the Seppa with the Suba. Very happy with the transitions, and I specified I wanted good transitions around the entire blade. Now the saya is a natural wood saya with some light varnish on it, and I like it actually because you could see some imperfections in this in the wood structure. I mean, they could have probably put a couple more coats, but I really like the antique look that this sword gives me. I like to see the grain structures, even if they could have put some more varnish on it to kind of cover it up. I really do like to see the imperfections of the wood. You can see the swells in the wood and the brown spots. I really love how this side came out. I'm extremely happy with it actually. Bullhorn pretty much all over the place. So if you want to get into the specifics of the sword, you have the kurigata, which is the knob of the sword. It has, you know, it's made in bullhorn. The damn shitterdomes weren't glued on. I requested them to be glued on. I'm going to end up taking them off, as I always do. I mean, I would love for them to be glued on, but I don't know. They forget sometimes to glue the freaking things on. But I usually end up taking them off and throwing them out. The Sageo string, which I am going to be untying, but it's got a beautiful knot on it, as they always do. Nice and tight, great presentation knot. You know, pretty good quality, not your Japanese silk. It doesn't have that thick Japanese silk feel that you can order custom, but it is good enough and it serves its purpose. This sword has absolutely zero sword rattle. No sword rattle. This thing is tight as, I won't say tight as hell. Tight as hell. The sword is tight as hell in the saya. It really is, okay? No sword rattle at all. Okay, and now the reason for that is what I noticed. There is a little bit of binding. Now you're able to kind of pull it off with your tongue, but there is a little bit of a binding like right here, okay, which it was a lot worse when I first received the sword. It was a little hard to take off, but now it kind of just really comes off pretty evenly. But you know what, it fits really good, snaps into place, and guys, this thing does not fall off. It will not accidentally come off, but you can still basically push it off of your thumb through the Lido style, and it'll come right out, and it fits really, really nicely and snug in there. Now the Koiguchi, okay, again, it's got some really beautiful brown bullhorn on the Koiguchi here, okay, which you can see very good transitions, no you know, run over on paint or anything like that. It's very well done. The Koiguchi, it's shaped pretty well inside. It's got a little bit of gunk, but it's, for the most part, it's pretty good. I don't really have a problem with the Koiguchi, but the bullhorn looks really good, and you definitely want bullhorn on the Koiguchi. It's a very important piece to have. That's probably one of the most important pieces to have on Saya, is a bullhorn in the Koiguchi, because when you're sheathing and unsheathing it, okay, God forbid with a sharp sword, if you unsheath it too fast, it can cut through the wood and right into the meat of your hand, and you definitely don't want that happening. So this is very important to have on any production type of katana, to have bullhorn around the Koiguchi, and they executed this pretty damn well, as you can see in the pictures. My only issue, and I'll put this back in for a second, as far as the fit and finish, everything is great. My only issue, okay, with the fit and finish of this sword, there's a little bit of space between the Tsuba, okay, and the Koiguchi. It kind of rocks a little bit. It kind of lifts a little bit from one side to the other, and it's not a big problem, but you would like the Tsuba and the Koiguchi to kind of snap into place and have no spaces there. That is probably my only issue with the fit and finish of this particular sword, that it doesn't fit perfectly fine between the Tsuba and the Saya. It is a little bit of kind of a lift on one side, and it doesn't perfectly snap into place with no spaces. That would probably be my only complaint, which I let Van know as well, of the fit and finish so far of this sword, and hopefully that's the only thing that I'm going to complain about after I finish up my 3-part. Okay, so getting to the blade. Before we get into the stabby part, the thing that most people are interested in, we're going to get into the Tsuba, okay? So now the Tsuba, which you see pictures on the screen, is again another very antique look. It looks like kind of like a pounded metal iron. It's a solid iron Tsuba. It has, if you notice, it has like kind of some ridges here that kind of, you feel like they might bite into your hand, but you know what? It's really not that bad. They all filed down a little bit. They might catch a little bit something, but you know what? Nothing, no clothing or anything should really be that close to the sword anyway, so I'm really not concerned with it. But I'm really happy with how it came out. It does, again, carry that antique look on all the pieces. I'm really happy with the pieces I chose, how everything kind of fits together. The seppas are pretty much just your standard brass seppas, you know, pretty good quality, fitted very, very well onto the sword and the cargo. The habaki is an attempt at a two-piece habaki. It's obviously not an authentic two-piece habaki like traditional habakis in Nihantos in historical findings, but it is a nice attempt at a two-piece habaki. I like the look of it. That's why I got it. I didn't go for it for like historical presence or anything like that. I just did like the grind, and it's not your typical habaki that you can get, typical brass habakis. It's something a little bit better, a little finer, a little bit more detailed. Hira Zukuri architecture means it's a completely flat plane on the blade. There's no shinobi line, no lifts or anything like that. It's like a kind of a complete V shape. Okay, the mune's on top. It's a complete V shape. Imagine the mune right here, right down. So it comes to a very fine edge from the mune all the way down. So what this does is should make it a very prolific cutter, and I'm so looking forward to cutting with this thing. It should really slice through things really well. It should slice through tatami very well. It should slice through pool noodles very well. I did do a double bowhai on the blade. The double bowhai actually has pretty good termination on each side. It's pretty even on each side as far as I can see, so the termination is actually done very well. The actual point is an okisaki point. Now the okisaki is just an extended tip, okay? You've seen the Motohara okisaki, which is so elongated, and it's just such a beautiful okisaki, but the attempt that Jeiku does on this okisaki is really is pretty well done. It's not as good as the Motohara's okisaki, but it is, for all intents and purposes, a really beautiful looking okisaki. Now my favorite thing about this blade is that I requested to have the same width of the blade from the Motohaba, this end of here by the habaki, all the way down to the okisaki, and that's exactly what they did. The Motohaba by the habaki came in at about 1.25 inches, which is actually wider than a standard Shinobi Zukuri, which is great. I love a little bit of a wider blade, like that girth, and on the blade, and then it goes into the fine point right to the okisaki at 1.22 inches. So it honestly really keeps the actual width of the blade all the way down. So it's not only a fine straight blade, It's a wider blade, stronger blade, and I think it's just going to be able to get through tatami and some harder targets like tatami really, really well. So the biggest beauty about this blade, and I'll show you my B-roll pictures video there, is the freaking hamon. The polish on the blade, first of all, is something called a cosmetic polish. This cosmetic polish of the blade promotes the hamon a lot better than a mirror polish can. In any light, you can see, okay, the hamon on this blade very, 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 very clearly. I can see it in sunlight, in room light, in dark light, in any light, and that's what makes the cosmetic polish really well. And I just love the look of this blade in this cosmetic polish that JQ does for me, and I love to have that option. I just think it looks more of a traditional traditional Japanese style katana. The execution of the hamon, the hamon that I chose was actually called a Togari, T-O-G-A-R-I, a Togari hamon, and I chose it because I love the look of it, and they executed it absolutely flawlessly. So I'm really extremely ecstatic and happy with how this blade came out, which is no surprise because I have been very happy with all of the blades that I have received from JQ, and this is definitely no exception. So the blade, very good job on the blade. Now getting to this here, the sharpness of the blade, I chose to have pretty much almost a razor sharpness. Now I don't need to do a sharpening test on this, guys. It is freaking sharp. I mean, I know exactly how sharp feels, and this is a very, very sharp blade all the way down, pretty close to the hibaki. Actually, it only starts dulling out to maybe about 1 inch from the hibaki, which is normal, how it's supposed to be, but it is sharp about 1.5 inches above the hibaki, all the way up to the upper 2/3 of the blade, and a really nice fine point. So very happy with the blade, very happy with the hamon, and everything about the sword so far looks really, really, really well done. So far, so good. I'm really loving what I see so far with this sword. I'm loving the sky. I'm loving the quality of the semigawa, the aged look of the semigawa. I'm loving the tightness of the kashira and the fuchi. I'm loving the antique look of the suba. I'm loving the feel of the full wrap semigawa. I'm loving the fact that they got pretty much everything right in terms of the measurements that I gave them. I'm loving the quality and beauty of the blade. I'm loving the distinctive hamon that I chose. The Togari hamon is absolutely beautiful. I'm loving that it's light and nimble and it's manageable in the hands. So far so good. I'm really liking a lot about this sword. So again, stay tuned for the cutting video with some new tatami mats from Amazon. So guys, hang out for a second. Some items of agenda that I just wanted to kind of get through. You obviously know that I have another show with Scab from ChoirBoyz Cutlery called Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. We have we have a show coming up this upcoming Monday about blade maintenance and sharpening. Then we have Captain Electro coming up the week after, and Matthew Jensen and Walter Sorrells. And I would like to make a formal announcement, which I didn't tell you, but surprise, surprise, formal announcement for another show we're going to be lining up is going to be with Eric Husayn and Eric 117. Now, if you guys know them, you know they are extremely prolific cutters. They are extremely talented, quick-handed, prolific cutters. They do doubles, they do triples, and they do it with ease, finesse, and strength, and it's just, their form is great. I mean, they're just wonderful, wonderful cutters. They really are. We had set them up to do a show together, and credit to Captain Electro because he gave me the idea for it. I had an idea I wanted 2 cutters on, and I had the idea I wanted the Erics on, but he kind of pushed it into my brain and said, yeah, that's what you got to do. So thanks, Captain Electro, for suggesting that to me, because I kind of just pushed the envelope, and I asked them today. They both agreed to it. So we're gonna have a show with Scab, Blade Talk. We're gonna have both Erics on, and we're gonna talk about cutting. There's a little bit of a fun rivalry going on with them, so it should be pretty juicy. So stay tuned for that. I think that's going to be an amazing show. So we have both Erics signed up for a show with Blade Talk. That's going to be announced as far as when that's going to happen. We're pretty booked up with a couple different guests coming in, but that show is going to be, it is going to come to reality, and it's going to be fantastic. So stay tuned, guys. If you guys are not subbed to either myself, ChoirBoyz Cutlery, you will not be able to see Blade Talk or know when Blade Talk is on. If you're not subbed to Eric Husayn or Eric 117, sub them. Take a look at their stuff. Take a look at their cutting styles. I'll leave links to everything I'm talking about in the description of this video, guys. Take a look at their stuff. Their stuff is amazing and very entertaining, and it'll give you a lead up to actually watch them and appreciate what they're doing on Blade Talk when that comes to be. So I'll make an announcement when that date comes in, but they did agree to it very happily, and they're very excited about it. I think Eric 117 is just ecstatic about it. He's got a lot of ideas, and spoke to him about 3 times today, I think. So I'm really happy that they're excited. We're excited to have them on. So that's going to be another Blade Talk special guests that are coming into play. And other than that, guys, I know I rambled on for a long time. I thank you for all you guys that hung around to get to the end of this video. Again, great first look at the Hira Zukuri katana, Japanese style katana from J-Coup. Cutting video next up. You guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out. Love you guys. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.